I'm good to go. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. In this first session, we'll be hearing from experts in the field about UNIDO's work advancing the opportunities for gainful employment and economic growth in the creative industries. My name is Maggie Childs, and I'm honored to be guiding you through this session on the important work UNIDO is doing to promote the creative economy. The creative economy is one of the most rapidly growing sectors and at a global level, and also highly dynamic in terms of income generation, job creation, and export earnings. UNIDO supports the development of creative industries in vulnerable rural communities to accelerate inclusion and economic integration and thereby contribute to improved livelihoods. So before we get to our first panel, we're going to hear from creative industries expert, Agro Industries and Skills Development Division, Carlota Sanz.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, 2021 marks the International Year of the Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. The United Nations General Assembly has acknowledged the role of the creative economy to achieve the Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. The creative economy builds on the interplay between creativity, ideas, intellectual property, knowledge, and technology. Creative industries, which includes design, arts and crafts, fashion, music, and film, among others, are at the center of the creative economy. And even though they are highly affected by the COVID-19 crisis, they are still amongst the most dynamic sectors in the world economy. At UNIDO, together with member states, donors, and sister UN agencies, we have been supporting the creative industries for decades. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today, we are here to show what makes the creative economy such a powerful tool for change. And I would like you to keep three main ideas in mind. The first one is that there is an untapped potential for creative industries in developing economies. Creativity and unheard stories are everywhere. In every corner of our planet, there is a musician composing a new sound or a fashion designer trying to build her business. Every society, every continent has its unique creative and cultural capital. And today, thanks to increased connectivity and digitalization, developing economies can build on these unique assets to better integrate the global economy. The second idea is that the potential for job creation, especially in rural areas, is huge, because factors of production are essentially human, are abundant, and are accessible. Those are creativity, ideas, knowledge, and know-how, rather than natural resources, lands, or factories. These industries have relatively low barriers to entry, which opens opportunities for many women, youth, and other vulnerable groups who typically face higher constraints to access capital. And third, the creative industries are a bond between our past and our future, and a great source of innovation. A dichotomy is often drawn between tradition and innovation, but one cannot innovate without previous knowledge, without heritage, and without history. Getting inspiration from the patterns of an ancient building or the colors of the spices in the local market and transform it into new innovative goods and services with a soul, with a story, which are increasingly coveted by international markets. This is what actors in the creative economy are doing, and this is why at UNIDO we want to keep supporting them. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, building upon the right tools such as design capacity building, digitalization, entrepreneurship and skills development programs, intellectual property rights protection, UNIDO supports actors in the creative industries to improve their economic opportunities. Our speakers today will provide us with concrete examples on the impact of supporting the creative industries, and I am sure that they will bring you the energy, the inspiration, and the ideas to build back a better future. Thank you for your attention and enjoy the session.
Thank you, Kalatasans, for those inspiring words. I think we've all felt that the creative industries have suffered now during the pandemic, but digitalization is opening up new opportunities for them, and diversification is definitely key, and we'll hear more about that in the panels. But next, we'll be hearing from Minister of Cooperatives, Labor and Social Welfare for the Islamic Republic of Iran, His Excellency Hoyatollah Abdolmaleki.
President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran, I take this opportunity to express my gratitude and appreciation to the esteemed host of the 19th General Assembly of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, and I am pleased to be with you and hope that such face-to-face events will be held soon. Iran is a country with a rich culture and civilization, and a strong history in the production of creative products. Art has always been considered as a profession and industry in Iran. All upstream documents of the Islamic Republic of Iran emphasize the development of creative and knowledge-based industries and the promotion of Iranian products and services for supply in the international market. We believe that paying attention to and launching creative industries is an effective approach to overcome the existing problems such as poverty and unemployment in developing countries, as well as an effective way to create productive and decent employment for all and improve the quality of life of people, especially in rural areas. The Iranian government has created a conducive environment for empowerment to develop a creative economy and digital technologies by developing communication infrastructure in all cities and villages with more than 20 households. At the Ministry of Agriculture, Jihad, and with the help of the Ministry of Cooperatives, Labor and Social Welfare, we have been pursuing the development of the beekeeping industry for several years in cooperation with UNIDO, and now we are proud to announce the end of this project in the form of creative economy. In this project, new products with high added value have been produced through training and empowerment of beekeepers in all parts of the country and their familiarity with the new production technologies and networking among activists along the value chain. The value of products of Iran's beekeeping industry has increased up to 100 times through creative research and development activities. Also, by creating and introducing national brands, designing customer-friendly packaging, and launching new products and competing the value chain of beekeeping industry products, the income of beekeepers, including women activists in this field who often live in rural and low-income areas, increased significantly. In some important international festivals, Iranian products have won gold medals. Of course, the irreplaceable role of traditional and creative houses in Kermanshah and Sanandaj in the success of this project should not be overlooked. In the Islamic Republic of Iran, we are still very interested in the development and continuation of cooperation with UNIDO in order to improve the value chain of the Iranian beekeeping industry. In particular, we will support the promotion of new digital technologies for the development of healthy and organic products and the further development of research and creative development and branding of this industry. Finally, I would like to thank Mr. Ricardo Savigliano, head of the AIS department of the UNIDO Department of Agriculture, for managing this program in Iran. Thank you.
Thank you very much to His Excellency Sadati Nejad Sayed Javad. Next, we would like to welcome our first panel, who will talk about UNIDO projects that help people develop cultural heritage products to improve livelihoods of vulnerable social groups. I'm very excited to invite to this panel Laurence Thiotou, architect, founder, and creator of La Liste Tunisienne, and Mr. Abdul Walid Attai, software design expert living in Tajikistan. Welcome to both of you.
Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, UNIDO's guests and colleagues. Today is an honor for me to be with you. And I thank the UNIDO family who selected me as a speaker on a UNIDO General Conference. Has a refugee background and working in Tajikistan, has my experience stays in a national trainer on software and designed program. One of the main things which deceives to overcome the employment barrier in Tajikistan is the textile and product developing and using of digital design tools in Tajikistan. Designers always has an expression that if there isn't any good design, so how the publisher will make a product or publish a product. So the design word will always come first. But unfortunately, in Tajikistan, in most of the university, they don't have any standard curriculum for this. So they are still using their old techniques and old curriculums, which are not used nowadays and accepted nowadays. Therefore, when I start my first training with a group of the designers and a group of students with different universities of Tajikistan, they were actually using a pen and a pencil or with a paper for designing their products. But that's not the right way, and they face too many problems. And we show them the right way to using of a digital designs software, which is very accurate and designed for these type of tasks. When I started my first training in October 2019 with the different groups, include vulnerable social groups who had the limited information and a basic information about the computer, using of a computer, and a little information about the design. But after passing of a short time and a year of hard working, now we are one step behind to finish or graduate our first designers and introduce it to the country who have the skills and the capabilities to work in the different field of a design and also to start a small businesses for themselves.
Thank you, Walid. Oh, sorry. I don't want to interrupt. I just want to follow up a little bit. So you've had this experience as a software designer yourself, of course. You come in with an entire digital aspect of design that perhaps the industry hasn't really seen before or used before. I find that ties in very well with Laurence's experience of bringing young designers in to work with rural women together and coming from completely different backgrounds, kind of feeding in both of their expertise into the design and craft sector. So Laurence, could you share with us just a little bit of that project and how you approached it?
Yes, with pleasure. So me, I'm an artistic and design expert for UNIDO project in Tunisia, whose name is Creative Tunisia, and we support the development of handicraft and design value chains. Craftsman is experiencing a worldwide boom in the decoration market, and we must take this opportunity in our action and put Tunisia in the forefront of this scene. And that's how we organize the meeting, sorry for my English, between women and young designer. And the goal of all this action is to put confidence in the woman work and in the young designer. So we do work a lot to increase confidence in the woman, telling them yes, they can do other things that they do usually do and doesn't have a lot of income in from their work. And young designer, that art craft is not out of fashion. I don't know how to tell it better. And there is they can, you know, increase a real career in making design with craft people. And so we're doing this, you know, in all the village and all the craft savoir-faire. And last year we did, during this COVID year, you know, like 30 collection, and we did present it with a lot of success and in the handicraft salon in Tunisia. And we're putting action, like, you know, to put some marketing in it, to put some communication, make them do catalog. And what I see, people now believe in us and they follow. There is a lot of enthusiasm, because after all four years, they see the result of the action and they trust us. For me, it's really important to put this trust in what we do for them.
That's beautiful. Walid, you were saying before as well, and just to tie it in, kind of, we heard from Laurence that it's about really empowering also these women in your rural communities to learn new skills as well. And the young designers are learning from the traditional design practices. Did you have the same experience when you were working as a trainer, you know, in this capacity building capacity? Did you have the same experience of people really discovering new skills or even entire ways of working that they hadn't known before?
Yeah.
Abdul.
Walid, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Yeah. I'm currently working with different groups of designers and also girls and boys. I'm working with them, and also with a group of teachers and vulnerable social groups and refugees. Here, they actually they want to learn more and improve their skills. As I'm a refugee, when I got the job, and I have been trained in the same field, in the field of textile and product developing by the international expert, physically and online, from Vienna, which I really improved my skills and experience, which I got from UNIDO. And now I think it's my turn to share my skills and the experience which I got from UNIDO with my students and the participants. So of course they want to learn more, and most of my students found a better job, a part-time job for their monthly income. And one of my refugee students also finds a part-time job here in Tajikistan, and he's very happy with the job he got. He's working now as a junior graphic designer, but he improved their skills through UNIDO projects. And they are also always saying that we are grateful of UNIDO for conducting this kind of training with us.
And Walid, what skills did you see in your work in Tajikistan? What skills were proven to be the most helpful in the job market? You mentioned your friend with the graphic design, but which
as I think design is one of the best career in the world and demands more, even in Tajikistan. But the standard textile and product developing and using of the digital design tool is very effective for them, because now all the world is going to the new technology, and they're using the softwares, and we have so many softwares for the same task. So I think, as my experience says, the using of a national, using of standard and softwares, design softwares and digital design tools are very necessary, and it will be very helpful for them to find a career opportunity for themselves.
It's so important to recognize also which skills are going to get you somewhere, because you spend so much time acquiring them, right? So Laurence, you were telling us also a bit about the successes you've seen and also the empowerment that you've observed among the women in these communities. What obstacles did you face in the process of working with them? And I mean, you're putting together two very different groups of people who have a completely different understanding, perhaps, of creativity or know-how or how tradition can be used. And it's really a country also, Tunisia is a country with such rich cultural heritage. Were there any problems or challenges that you had to overcome?
The challenges is that the women, they are used to do every day the same thing. You know, every day the same basket. And suddenly you come with a young designer who said, this basket, I see it like this, like this, like this. And you have to convince her, you know, that she can make it. And it's going to be, it's having a chance on the market. Plus the women, they are working at home. And it's really in Tunisia, individual activity. And we have to convince to consider art craft like a real job. And it's like, you know, to change the mentality, to put some emancipation, maybe to go out from their home, to go to work, to workshop, to learn and to work with other women, because they are a little suspicious to share their work with other people. So we have to convince to work, to convince them to work with a group. The second things we have for the women craft, to convince that young people can be work in the craft. And for example, I'm really proud of what we did with UNIDO in a village called Hawashed in Belkhir. It's potters, and we did formation. You know, we did workshop, and in like 6 months, from women who was around 60, who knew the savoir-faire, now we have, you know, young ladies in the 20s working really well. And me, I'm really happy when we bring tools to work in another way to make it easier for them to understand what the creation the design we bring to them. And now when I see, you know, old woman with a meter and, you know, understanding the design, etc., I can see the future in those old women, and I can really see the future in those young women who's now working on it. And I think we will be really proud with Carlotta and Talel, who's the main team I'm working with, when you're going to see the result. And I think it's from a difficulty, you know, you always find the solution. And for the designer, the youth, it's sometimes they are extremely theoretical. They want to do really something new. And me, I have to explain, you have to respect the cultural heritage, because what the people would like from Tunisia, it's a Tunisian identity, not a modern identity like you can do, you know, in France, Sweden, etc., etc. And it's to make them respect their cultural heritage, and to work with this and to understand what the savoir-faire from the craft woman, and to work with this. So when we do this, we always ask the designer and the young creators to spend like a week with the craft people, to understand, to live with them, and to work in the respect of it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Laurence. And thank you, Walid. This is so inspiring to hear about your work, and not only how it changes the lives of people, but really changes the circumstances that they're working in the job market. So many thanks to Walid and Laurence. Have a wonderful rest of the session. And we'll be now seeing a short video about this category of project. Now that we've heard about the creative industries, we're going to move on to the subject of the creative industries to support rural economic development in a different way. And we'll see a short video about that briefly. And to talk to us today about rural economic development with help of the creative industries, I'd like to invite two of the leadership team at Shuf Biosphere Reserve in Lebanon. Director of the Shuf Biosphere is Nisar Hani, who'll be joining us, and its development coordinator, Lina Sarkis. Welcome, both of you. Start with you. Rural areas in many countries often have two things in common. First of all, they have small-scale farming activities, and they also have very rich traditions and rich cultural heritage. So how can local communities harness that cultural heritage to really create not only prosperity, but also jobs for the community? Tell us a little bit, Nisar, about your projects.
Good morning, all. First, the Shuf Biosphere Reserve is the largest nature reserve in Lebanon, located in Mount Lebanon. It is one of the largest protected areas in the southern side of the Mediterranean region, including 30% of the remaining famous cedar forest, which is the iconic tree which exists on the flag of Lebanon. And this part of the world is very rich in biodiversity. What we are trying to do and to promote in this protected area, what we call it forest and landscape restoration, which is looking to this landscape as one unit, involve all the stakeholders that are living in the surrounding area of the reserve. And in that case, farmers are playing a key role in this landscape, because 30% of our landscape is the farming land or old abandoned terraces. So we try to work with all the stakeholders, with the small farmers. Lately, with the full support of UNIDO, we started many initiatives to highlight and to promote such local farming activities, and to train the local farmers to revive their traditional knowledge and their traditional practices, really to be going in harmony with nature conservation, where we have these natural assets that can support agriculture, and agriculture can support the nature conservation activities in the region.
Fantastic. Sounds like a very complex and multifaceted project as well. Lina, maybe you can tell us a little bit about some examples maybe of how Shuf Biosphere goes about facilitating things for creatives so that they can diversify, grow their business, or really make an impact in the community. What were some examples of how you've done that? Okay, we're having some audio issues. Lina, I'm so sorry. Nisar, maybe you take over.
I will, but I couldn't hear as well your first question. Anyway,
no problem.
I heard this question very well. So following of what I said, we are trying to highlight all the attractions that exist in the region, the natural and the cultural attractions. We are trying to promote the sustainable agriculture principles. We produce vegetables and fruits, and we do animal production, as well as we transform the agriculture crops, as well as we have a fourth important principle, which is the agritourism. Now our sustainable farms are more or less being a destination for our visitors. They go there, they enjoy farming activities, they enjoy healthy crops, they having all these traditional meals, living the farming experience in the region. As well as, and as our colleagues were mentioning about their great experience, we did a full branding for the whole region. Our products now are promoted under the brand of the Shuf Biosphere Reserve, as well as we worked on the whole value chain, starting from the assessment, understanding the needs very well, trying to do a clear action plan with the farmers, and move on to improve the quality of the product, the good packaging, the good image of the product, and the promotion on the local, national, and international level. One of the issues that we did it, and we helped the producers and the farmers to promote and to sell their products locally. We did linkages between the service providers and the producers and the farmers. Now the whole region is being a destination for ecotourism. We have many local service providers, guest houses, table dot, camping sites, and all those people who are providing a special experience, this authentic, traditional experience. You can come to what we call a table dot from Beirut or from other regions in Lebanon or from outside Lebanon, and you live this family traditional experience. You have a great, healthy food and enjoy this rural living.
Okay, I have one last question for you, Nizar, and we have to make this a quick answer, so please try to be brief. We have a lot of policymakers in the audience today, and you've had now a lot of experience with this kind of a change process. How can policymakers help you and people with projects like you create a conducive environment for local communities and creative businesses?
The policies are helping a lot, but we need more policies taking into consideration the importance of nature conservation, the importance of the cultural practices, because the new way of managing protected areas is to revive the cultural practices and really to let those practices meeting our current needs. Maybe in number, Shuf Biosphere Reserve right now is providing hundreds of job opportunities, is opening new businesses. The economic value assessment that we did a few years ago showing that every dollar we invest in this landscape giving us $19. And this is a good investment for the rural areas. So for the policymakers, my message today that protected areas is a good investment for rural areas. Let's invest more in protected areas and let's support on policy level and on protection level those areas, which is now the Biosphere Reserve network exists in 120 countries and covering 5% of the surface of the globe. So our laboratories for sustainable development. Let's continue supporting those areas to be able to support the local communities that are living in the surrounding of the Biosphere Reserves.
Thank you very much, Nizar, and thank you, Lina. I'm sorry that we had the technical difficulties, but the work you're doing is very important and very impressive, and thank you very much for joining us today and sharing it with us. So all the best to Lebanon.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for our third panel, we're going to delve into the industrial design and branding for competitiveness and sustainable growth. We'll see a short video on that. So now we come to our third panel, which has two very esteemed experts on branding and generally how to use brand also to grow a business or grow your market. So we're going to hear from Satin Koshayan, Deputy CEO of Militante LLC, and Gerhard Hrebicek, President of the European Brand Institute, or EBI. Thank you guys so much for joining. Great to see you. So Satin, I'm going to start with you. Your company, Militante, joined the Umbrella Branding Initiative supported by UNIDO and adopted a collective approach to marketing. So were you able to see improvements in your competitiveness? And also, were you able to build credibility of Armenian fashion producers in Armenia and also around the world? What were you able to accomplish with that?
Okay, hi everyone, and thank you for a very interesting question. So here I should highlight the importance of strong cooperation with Space 59. It's a really unique platform for manufacturers, designers, and other fashion-related enterprises to work effectively, cooperate, and achieve more. As a successful example, I want to talk about mainly umbrella branding and collective marketing initiatives that we jointly launched with Space 59. It's more than 4 years that we as an Armenian brand are represented in international exhibitions as one united brand. And here I should highlight the benefits which we receive from the cooperation, not only as a company, but also as a country. It's gain of more visibility in larger presence in the marketplace, better understanding the international markets, cost reductions, experience sharings, and of course, presenting our countries from the branding perspective. Also, while working with highly professional team, we learn new things like trend forecasting, right representation of collections, and importance of e-commerce. And these all were the benefits of working and creating and believing together as a one umbrella brand. And also, we as a company had a big impact on the creation of Space 59 brand, and it's like our little child for whom we are very proud of. And we believed that one day, kind of in the scope of umbrella branding, we will really made in Armenia brand. We will kind of create made in Armenia brand.
That's a first step, also in a much bigger direction, I'm sure. And we want to hear more about that in a moment. Gerhard, the UNIDO and EBI, or the European Brand Institute, have pioneered projects going forward in this sphere of branding for competitiveness and sustainable growth. And you've led corporate, destination, region, city branding initiatives. So these are really also just regional, but they can be definitely company specific. So how do they contribute to adopting more innovation-oriented approaches in general in those regions? And also really, do they give a value, how do they give a value added to the practices that already exist?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us. As we at European Brand Institute, we are partners with UNIDO since several years. We are specialists in evaluation of brands, evaluation, but also designing strategies. Now, maybe for a better understanding, what is a brand? We talked today about creative industry. Everything which is created by creative industries leads into a brand. So a brand in general builds a relationship with people, tells stories, creates experiences, build relationships, as Satin says, also we have more visibility, better understanding, and so on. So it's a relationship builder. It can be a logo, a sign, a symbol, a scent, a pattern. But on the other side, and that's now coming back to your question, of course, they create also economic value. They create more growth. Their company can grow better maybe in the segment where we are, but also internationally. They create higher profitability. As Satin said, they reduce costs. So they can increase prices. They are a sign of quality, of course, and they make companies and regions more resilient. And in general, they lead to GDP growth. We see that there's a huge potential when you use branding initiatives in regions for clusters like we saw in Tajikistan and in Armenia, that you grow the GDP of a region, of a cluster. Yeah.
That's, I think, you know, some things are universal, some things go for every region, and some things are definitely region specific, I'm sure. Satin, you have had this struggle as an entrepreneur or as a young company. Becoming and staying competitive in the fashion industry is no picnic for anyone. But what challenges your company specifically? You're a garment producing SME, essentially, and it's a very competitive industry, fashion. So how do you define a success formula for the smooth transition from being a startup SME type fashion brand to an international level marketing conglomerate?
It's an also very important question from the company's development perspective. Though we are 20 years in Armenian market, we strive to create a brand which will be well known as a quality higher than price. I mean, during the years, by analyzing the international markets and our countries, not only our companies, but also our countries' capacities, we understand that for small countries and SMEs, it's nearly impossible to compete with China or other giant countries by quantity. So we are more than sure that the only way for us as a brand, as a company, and as a country to be developed in a sustainable way and to create strong Made in Armenia brand is only way to create strong Made in Armenia brand by letting the world know that Armenian clothes are high end, and if you look for a quality, not the quantity but quality, you should choose Armenia. This, I think, will be the best practice on how strong branding can add value to the country's economy, as Jared said, and rise its rating in the international markets.
Yeah, I think that we've definitely seen also a move away from fast fashion, and perhaps this is Armenia's moment also to shine as a brand that way. Gad, we've seen from black swan events like the pandemic that it's important to be agile in industrial development, no matter what the sector is. But what is the role of branding there, or generally intangibles, in this ongoing shift from a classic growth model to kind of seeing, okay, we have to be agile, we have to move more quickly, or maybe perhaps we have some more some examples of SMEs that can benefit from this kind of a brand improvement and emerge more resilient now after the pandemic?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the more the world gets digital, the more we need brands, because as I said before, brands, they build relationships. Brands tell stories. A digitalization initiative needs a brand initiative because the people love these stories, these relationships, this what a brand can give you. And when you look, for instance, in the fashion industry, like we see in Armenia, of course, every product, every style, all the innovation, what brands are doing, also agile means that you are quick, that you respond to market trends, that you respond to the needs of your customers or of the trade partners you have. So that's all what is integrated in the brand, and basically you can evaluate this. Yeah, brands are really substantial values for a company, or also for SMEs. We say once, for instance, one example, once you are on the internet, you're a global company and you compete with everybody else. Like you said now in Armenia, of course you compete against the whole world. So what can you do? You can only differentiate yourself through your brand, through your products, through your designs, through your heritage, through your storytelling, through your experiences. This in a very agile way. Yes, you're right. Creative industries are fast, are innovative, and that's all then wrapped in a brand which you can activate. You can put it on the balance sheet, and you can also use it for financing. And we see that it really contributes. Very good that you create this made in Armenia. Maybe the future is more created in Armenia. This really brings also value to the regions and grows the GDP between 20 and 100% of a region, I would say, from our studies, what we did in history.
It's a very significant growth factor there. Satin, let's put this into a kind of a tangible example, right? So how has your business development at Milante changed or scaled really due to your ability to be a global e-commerce brand now? So what are the areas that require improvement maybe for you, where you say, okay, there's still a gap between where we are and where we should be? And how has your business development changed in general on that level?
Though for SMEs or for our company, creating our own brand is a hard, expensive, and sometimes long-lasting processes. We understood that in a long-term perspective, it becomes a valuable asset which generates income, even in crises and hard market conditions. And we had this good example of COVID-19, where we understand that if we want to exist in the marketplace, we should be also in e-commerce platforms, and we should have our e-commerce existence. So now we are changing kind of strategies. We are trying to make more investments on being represented in e-commerce platforms. And I guess this was the biggest gap which we are trying now to solve in order to be in the global marketplaces and to represent our country, company, and our brand. So.
Well, Satin, it's very inspiring what you're doing, and both of you, also brands generally and their power is so underestimated. I think it's really great what we've heard from you today also about the power of brands, especially in the digital market that we're working in today and the current pandemic situation that the world finds itself in. Yeah, Satin, thank you very much for the conversation. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the sessions today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks, Beat. So to close this session, we are actually going to speak with Dr. Bernardo Casadilla Sarmiento, who is Managing Director for the Directorate of Digitalization, Technology, and Agribusiness at the United Nations Industrial Development Organization here at UNIDO. Hello. Welcome. Thank you for joining me on stage. This is a rare occasion during this conference that we get to have an in-person conversation. It's very exciting for me.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, the creative economy is a huge topic. It's a massive industry. It's worldwide. It's all over the place in so many different forms, so many different ways. And it touches on so many aspects of society, touches on education, cultural heritage, gender, youth, digitalization, innovation, and generally also just the development of rural communities. So UNIDO can't possibly do this alone. This is a very, very massive project to empower this industry in general. So what other UN agencies are working with UNIDO on this, and how?
We cannot do it alone. We cannot do it alone, and we have seen in the examples this morning that supporting the creative industries is about building links. It's about linking the dots. It's about networking. It's about partnerships. It's about bringing also different services to the artist or to the producers. We need quality. We need especially clusters. The basis and the origin of UNIDO's engagement with the creative industries is the creation of cluster networks. And we have gone through building quality inside it and other elements. So what is important, and you highlighted, we cannot do it alone. We are not doing it alone within UNIDO, and we cannot do it alone outside. Sure. I would say that because it relates to cultural heritage, a key player is UNESCO. Yeah, UNESCO. But we collaborate with UNCTAD, we collaborate with ILO. There are a number of entities that we are collaborating. I would say that in particular, UNCTAD, we're working together in relation to the International Year of the Creative Economy. We organized the UNIDO Brussels Integration Dialogue, Innovation and Digital Transformation in Africa. So we have been working in a number of cases with the other entities. With UNESCO, UN Habitat, UNIDO is collaborating in a project to develop a creative city. Creative city in Hanoi is to support creative hubs. So especially to have the possibility to go and get the services through the hubs as a reference for creativity, innovation, collaboration. Today we have heard IT and digital products. So partnerships, again, I say, is the fundamental ingredient to address the variety of creative industries and the needs. And we need to work together in the UN family in relation to really highlighting the need to have this powerful tool to address the needs of women, youth, the vulnerable, and to unleash the creative potential that are in the communities and in the cultural heritage. In view also to link it to what is important for UNIDO, to industrial development.
Absolutely. And I think what you mentioned just now, also strengthening the IT kind of capabilities of organizations. When you're talking about these kind of cross-departmental things within UNIDO, right? There's also technical assistance projects, and if a company or an organization wants to stay competitive and on top of their game, and of course globally also successful, they also need to be able to innovate on a constant basis, on a ever-renewing basis. How does UNIDO support in that way in technical assistance?
Well, I think that in the process of the lockdown and in the pandemic, we have learned to work closer together. We have learned to work closer together. First of all, we migrated in digital space. We have a different way of collaborating, but we have seen that it's fundamental to link the different services. We have, I said, we had clusters, we have branding, we have design. Design is very important. And I would call design the new element here, industrial design that we are introducing, because it brings us to link it to the circular economy, because the circular economy needs to redesign the way products are going to do. We're doing it in an application here for the creative industries, but this is a very interesting element also because bringing the circular economy brings us to sustainability. And if you see the pandemic, the sector that is related to the creative industry that was more heated was the sustainable tourism. The tourism, you look everywhere, it's still a big problem. Imagine Barbados, I imagine the Caribbean, not to speak about Europe, but I'm just thinking Thailand, the losses that they have. So it is important to see that while we will help to recover, because UNIDO started to support, first of all, containment. And with containment was, how can we do business continuity? Business continuity was the first reaction. How can we help these small companies? And then we help them to repurpose to produce artistic masks, yeah, that are creative. And then we had also to help them to come back in a safe manner to business. And certainly during this process that I call the migration to the digital space, we have learned the relevance of e-commerce. Marketing is another element that is there. So you see, we need to work in an integrated manner and also in a holistic manner, and holistic because we need to work for and this is the emphasis that we should take in this case, is productivity, is production, because the inclusivity is already inherent to the creative industry, because those who are producing these goods are the vulnerable groups. But we need to continue helping for competitiveness so that the products can be sold. But also we need to have a thinking from the outset about sustainability.
Seems to me that there are almost two worlds converging here, industrial design and the creative industries in the classical sense. And as you talked about with cultural heritage, the technical assistance that you give with UNIDO, how does it address that kind of dichotomy, or how do you bring kind of industry 4.0 into the fore for the creative industries?
Well, I very much like the intervention of Mr. What is his name? Atahi. Atahi, yes, Mr. Atahi. It's a wonderful story, yeah, and I liked it because it has the story of the migrant that is coming and is starting to train with IT tools. This is, and I like it because it's the start. It's where we have to start. Is providing the tools for digitalization. When we talk about 4.0, the first element is digitalization, which may be not part of 4.0. Is digitalization started way back. But if you don't have basic digitalization, you cannot think about transforming your company, but you have to start to do that. You have to develop the skills that are required. So you need to focus on production, but you need from the outset to focus on the skills. And this is what the story told us, is focusing on the skills for diversification of production, maintaining business continuity, and doing business and link it to the international market. I said, I think that the star of the services was e-commerce. During the lockdown, e-commerce has grown not only in the industrialized world, but also this was the only way these companies could survive. We have supported a lot in relation to helping the companies to do that job, and this relates also to training. And finally, we have been also supporting this notion that they will need to migrate into building the contracts, and this is where the companies have most of the problem, how to sign contracts, how to formalize their business, how to make the payments. So, and again, we come back, we are not in all business. Financing is not UNIDO's strength, but we collaborate precisely with the other agencies to take care of that dimension, because it's fundamental that you have a mechanism to do digital payments as well.
Well, nobody enjoys bureaucracy or paperwork, but of course it's necessary.
Yeah,
right?
and sure, this is always focusing on the entrepreneurs themselves. So the entrepreneurs need a business environment. The startups need to be supported in innovation hubs, probably, and this is where we have this nice story of Hanoi, creative smart city. Yeah, and the one in Hanoi is the creative smart city addressing the needs of the smaller industries. So this is also something we need to do. We would call it formally in UNIDO journal, strengthening the innovation ecosystem. Yeah, and finally, we need policies. Yeah, we need a policy framework, and this is another work that UNIDO can do, advocate and support governments to have their framework, but there is a lot of demand for that. I think governments are really very keen to put in place the framework necessary, because there is the need to create jobs. And let me say, for UNIDO, it's all about creation of jobs. This is the focus of why we're in this business. Yeah, and also we need to do more skills, more vocational training, but also ensuring that we have sustainable livelihoods. Sustainable livelihoods, this means that we are looking into bringing in harmony rural and urban spaces and creating value for society for a better quality of life, which is actually what we want and what UNIDO is striving for.
I love this, pushing innovation, creating jobs, and also making sure those livelihoods that are created are in fact sustainable and will go on, but it's not a small pipe dream that will fizzle out. I think that's such a beautiful vision to have. And thank you so much for speaking with us today about all of these exciting things that UNIDO is doing, also in collaboration.
Pleasure, Margaret. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And also a big thanks to our panelists from earlier. You're doing great work to promote the creative industries and also really fuel development of the creative industries and in industrial development altogether on a global level. It's very, very inspiring what you're doing. Thank you so much. Thanks also, of course, to our audience for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Take some inspiration with you today, and thank you very much.